And we're live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Changeling the Lost Smoky Mountain Wilds. I am William Johnny, and I am your storyteller for this Changeling the Lost Second Edition Chronicle. And joining me for our finale of this chronicle, potentially to return later, but for now, this will almost certainly be the last of this.
Unless the argument goes for a very long time.
I would be very impressed if you managed to fill out 3 hours of argument.
I mean,
bitch, we can fill out 3 hours of anything with diverting minutia. And have you not heard any of our conversations ever?
I will specify. I will be very surprised if you can fill out 3 hours of argument without the braziers turning all one way or the other.
No, that's fair. We can fill 3 hours easy and never even get to the storyline.
But joining me today, we have the Shard system.
The Zodiac.
Nope.
Zodiac system. Sorry, Shards is L. The Zodiac system.
Hi, I'm Julia of the Zodiac system.
I was just in a game with L. The system's getting mixed up.
And I'm playing Cassandra Scott, the elemental polychromatic. Currently representative number 1 for humanity, apparently.
And Jeremy?
Hi, I'm Jeremy. I am playing Jackson Montgomery, or Marlena Dubois, who is a Theris Chatteling. And chilling in the car.
Says you.
For the moment, at least. We'll see what happens, but for the moment, chilling in the car.
And Katie?
Hi, I'm Katie. I am playing Joe Arbor, who is an elemental notary and also arguing for the fate of the world. Please don't make me give up my nice house and lots and lots and lots of imaginary money.
The nice house is imaginary too.
Listen.
And Drevian?
Drevian, I am playing Frisian, a Darkling Hunterheart that is not staying in the car, but also not representing humanity.
And as always, Black Lives Matter, trans rights are human rights, eat the rich, happy sloth month. Go make sure you are registered to vote because it's coming up soon.
Check your registration because they're purging people.
Mm-hmm.
And unless there's anyone specific on the grudge today.
Let's see.
There's always been
JD Vance.
I mean, I was going to say I would like to give a shout out to the internet for my favorite hashtag in recent ever, which is because the picture of a couple of pictures now of Vance cross-dressing in college have made their way online. The hashtag is Sofa Loren. And I love it. This is why humanity deserves to be saved, for the record.
I both love
Loren.
I love and hate. I love it and I hate that I did not come up with it.
Right? It's so good.
Other good internet news, Truth Social, Trump's social media platform, has Republicans for Kamala Harris at like at least 20,000, it might be higher, members on his social media platform.
Well, my favorite part about Truth Social right now is Trump decided to post to Twitter today, and so stock in Truth Social went through the floor.
Oh god, what was it? Was it? My favorite thing is how sorry, back to JD Vance. Apologies.
This, by the way, is how we're going to another session.
Last one, I swear. But he decided, like, oh, hey, fellow kids, I'm going to join TikTok too. And what does his first video have? Couches. 3 fucking couches. You want to know what all the comments are?
I mean, I think we can guess.
I'm like,
pretty sure we can guess.
You toned idiot. You put couches in your debut TikTok video. You really did not know what you're getting into.
How long before TikTok has to put couches as bullying?
As like,
the couches.
It hasn't happened yet.
Oh my god!
You can no longer comment couches on TikTok because it's considered bullying to JD Vance.
Listen.
They will now be referred to as long chairs.
Chaise lounge, love seats, sofa, futon. Come on.
Oh,
This is why Malkov should let us survive.
yes, 100%.
So, to recap and explain what all of our players are referencing for those who might not have been paying attention or are just tuning in for the final episode of this chronicle, and if you are, I'm so sorry.
Go back and like listen to the other ones and then come back here.
Yeah, we'll wait.
48 hours later.
Welcome back. So,
in the final lead up to trying to prevent the apocalypse, the group has acquired both the head of Mimir, the individual who was said to have the knowledge of the lock, the knowledge of the key, and Tiresias, the Malkavian who is said to have the wisdom of the lock. I may have switched those around, but I do not care right now. And the pair of them have been brought to Klingman's Dome, which is the current resting place of the remains of some kind of ancient darkness, which may or may not be Malkav, but is definitely something very big and dangerous. And the seal, which is beginning to fray under the power of this being, must be either reinforced or released through ritual. And this ritual involves arguing for or against the fate of humanity and attempting to convince fate, Malkav, me, the narrator, me actually, about whether or not humanity should be allowed to survive. As a reminder for the setup of the environment, Tiresias and Mimir have taken places at 2 specific podiums on either side of this large cavernous room and positioned around this like Vanta black, absolutely void, dark coffin that contains the darkness within and has this sort of hermetic mystic seal floating in front of it. Positioned around this object are 4 burning braziers, each of which burn with a violet flame. And as a reminder, you as the characters will learn this very shortly, but for the players to understand what is about to happen, Mimir and Tiresias will go back and forth, making arguments of their own, based on their knowledge as seers and people who understand the history of this world. After they have both made their arguments, it will be up to the group of you to try and weigh in and try and sway the argument. As Mimir's arguments take hold, those braziers will begin to turn red. As Tiresias tries to argue back, they will begin to turn blue. If all of them turn red, the seal is undone. If all of them turn blue, the seal is reinforced. There are 4 braziers. The goal is to achieve a complete saturation of one before the other one.
No pressure.
So the argument begins as Mimir begins to speak. The world's doom was sown well afore any of ye mortal folk in attendance knew o' what stalked the dark. 15 years ago, when all of ye were either hapless bystanders or lost in the grip of ancient tyrants, this world's course was already irrevocably changed. And like so much of this world, it was out of any one person's hands. To tell of only some of the tragedies of that benighted year, I will share with you only the pains that relate to those you all know. We'll begin with how the waking of this one's misplaced brethren, the head says, its eye sort of turning to the coffin, nearly caused our world's end already. In the year of 1999, in June, when the Zapathasura began to awake, his presence drove madness into his kin, the bloodline of Ravnos. Those who stalk the night that you know as vampires. And beyond even this, his madness etched itself into the world as a whole, a time known as the Week of Nightmares, when those with an inkling of the sense of the supernatural were blessed and cursed with prophetic nightmares, horrific glimpses of what was to come. And when the beast truly rose, well, let's just say that beating it back took a level of destruction that your lad at the cave entrance could only dream of, he says, looking over to where Frisian stands just outside the cave. Technologically inclined mystics of a mysterious order that your mage friend would only know as the technocracy implemented events known as Operation Ragnarok, as foreboding a name as any, but well armed. With mad technology born of their magic, they blasted the beast's body to dust with the power of the sun. But they knew such measures would not be enough. Nay, the first city of Enoch, from which vampires had come and to which the beast had returned, was obliterated in nuclear fire. While simultaneously, a second blast of similar proportions was detonated within the realms of the spirit. The wormwood star shone bright enough to be seen by all with naked eyes at the culmination of this devastation. And this, and only this, was enough to strike down a beast of the Zapathasura's power. The aftermath of these blasts unleashed a tempest in the realm of souls, and a second in the realm of the Umbra. A devastating hurricane of power, whose knock-on effects are still felt by the spirits and mages of this day. And if all of that was required to bring down even a being comparable to the one we stand before now, what truly do we have to command this one to stay in rest? Should it desire, nothing we do could hold it back, and its madness would engulf the world as true and as sure as anything. As Mimir finishes his statement, the purple in the braziers begins to turn crimson as 1, 2, 3 of the braziers turn a violent red. It is then that Tiresias speaks. The cost you speak of was well and truly dire. But the point is to be made that the beast was defeated. Such nightmares that mortals could only dream of were defeated through ingenuity of human minds, augmented by the magics of those who know. And the act itself speaks of the desperate desire of all life to continue in the face of any devastation. The cooperation that was forged in the Week of Nightmares, those who were uplifted and enlightened, and yet, despite the terrors they had witnessed, saw an opportunity to move forward, speaks to the indomitable nature of life and its continuing presence and drive to push back against the doom that would end all. Shows that the potential of this world is not yet spent. We have survived much of true danger and adapted and grown and learned to strive for a better future. We cannot condemn all that could be in the wake of what was, no matter how dire the catastrophe. In the wake of Tiresias, there's a sense that Tiresias' heart may not be fully in the works, as only 2 of the braziers turn to a full cerulean, and the balance stands even at 2 burning red and 2 burning blue. As Tiresias sort of turns their head, blind as they are, and Mimir's eyes sort of flick to the pair of you. And what have you two to add to argue one way or the other?
You want to go first? Cassandra will step forward.
Not it.
Tiresias is right. All of humanity can't be held for the... All of humanity cannot be seen the same. Granted, we are all herd animals and tend to follow bad ideas. But even in times of absolute darkness, we have found light and made it shine brighter than it had before. Every time humanity gets knocked into the dirt, we stand up with a rock to hit back. I have 2 beautiful children who have only ever known the bright side of the world. And they have 2 parents who walk very, very deeply into the darkness. And I feel like if we can make their lives happy with being as involved with this as we are, there's potential for anybody to be happy. And I believe at the root of it, if humanity can be at least just a little bit more caring about each other, we could fix everything. It's going to take time, and of course, we will continue to hit road bumps along the way, but I think that we as a species we've not hit our peak. We've not hit our potential.
What skill check would you like to make?
I would like to use... Oh. This is not a good roll, but presence and expression. And I'd like to spend a willpower if possible.
You could argue for manipulation if manipulation would be better.
Yeah. I'll do manipulation and expression.
Yeah, you can absolutely spend a willpower.
Okay. Manipulation. Expression. Go over here, see how bad I roll in real time. 2 successes, okay.
With 2 successes, the third brazier begins to flicker. It doesn't fully turn blue, but you can see the cerulean hues begin to pierce through the red flames.
Cassandra has had her phone out the entire time and just presses play, and the sound of 2 children laughing can be heard.
Flames twist and begin to shift more. If you were to try and judge by percentages, the third brazier seems almost halfway towards blue, but there is still not fully converted yet.
I have
She'll
a question.
She'll just let that video play for a minute and turn it off.
Was that Devian?
How loud is Mimir?
Loud enough to be heard, at least from you standing at the entrance.
I'm going to call Andrew. It's like mage friend.
Pick up.
You know, Andrew might have some good arguments. Because I remember right, he's more of like a lifey.
Yeah, I mean, he's a celestial chorister.
Yeah. It's like mages.
Nope. I don't know anything about this. Go on.
What?
All right. So you call Andrew. While this is going on, it rings once, twice, then picks up. Yeah, this is Andrew.
Hey, Andrew. Mages got mentioned, and it reminded me of you. Do you have any good arguments for why humanity should live versus be destroyed?
There's a pause. I'm sorry?
But
Hey, are you busy? I just have an existential crisis to talk about.
I mean, not the end of the, oh wait, it might be.
How old is Andrew?
He's like early 20s. Like maybe mid 20s, like 24-ish.
You're probably not old enough yourself, but you hear about what happened in 1999?
I heard from the mages who inducted me that a lot of crazy shit went down that year, yeah.
How the technocracy apparently destroyed something.
Dropped a couple of nukes on something really big and dangerous, yeah.
Something equally big and dangerous is wanting to wake up. Except it'll say it's sleep if it can be convinced that humanity deserves to live.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Am I allowed to intervene, and where?
Yeah, like there's 2 vampires representing each side.
You're on speakerphone.
Anyone else here is allowed to participate. And we're up by Klingman's Dome.
How many NPCs can we get into this thing so that ultimately it's just Shawnee arguing with themselves?
With myself, yes.
For 3 hours.
I need to call Tia and Lily and Civ and...
This is your own fault for connecting us to so many other groups.
Grabbing,
that's fair.
I'm grabbing James,
It's only appropriate.
No, James is already here. What am I saying?
Get the entire spring court to come party.
What's her name? What's her name?
Briar Rose.
Briar Rose.
Briar knows, and I know she has a lot of partners, but who's her partner?
Morgan.
The Morgan.
Primary partner is the Morgan, yeah.
Just have them come up here and give each other orgasms.
Okay, we can't fuck our way out of this. Otherwise, Jackson would be trying.
Well, nobody's tried anything yet.
I will be up there as soon as I can, says Andrew.
All right, good luck.
Yeah, that's Shawnee's buffer for this is that we drove all the fucking way out into the middle of the woods.
Unfortunately, that's not that big of a buffer because he's a mage.
We've got sure if he wants to explode.
Nobody has to be around to see him when he shows up.
Just let me locate my uncle and goetic demon. Okay, that's awesome.
Sure, no one's going to be around. He's going to be taking the paradox anyways. That's vulgar without witnesses.
Yeah, you don't know how much he's bled off recently. But meanwhile, Joe, did you wish to add anything to this?
Yes. I have spent the past 25 years of my life, since I was high enough to reach over the counter, work in retail. Now, before you go and turn those things red, consider this a perspective on humanity. Yes, I have seen some rude and awful people. But I have also seen a child doing extra chores, helping around the house just so they can get money to buy books. I have seen old ladies come in with their friends and they want all the bodice ripper romance novels and they're just giggling like a flock of hens and they are the happiest things you've ever seen. I have seen reluctant readers come back in again and again and again looking for themselves in a story, because the wonderful thing about stories, and I will always believe about books, is that there is a book with your voice. There's a book with your voice, and for every argument that says it has to be this way, there's a book or two that says no, it absolutely does not. There are so many stories, and those are just the published books. There are so many stories of everyday people that never get told because they never get to publish those books. They never get to publish those stories, but they talk. They come into my shop and they talk. My family, down the generations, we have been in this area for over 100 years. Don't even ask me how many generations. It's a lot of generations. But they have shared story after story, some of them barely able to write, but they have told those stories about how they came over on the boat. They came over with nothing. They came over and they put their sweat and their blood and their tears and whatever coin they had into making a better life, because whatever life they had here was a whole hell of a lot better than the life they left behind. And they were goddamn determined to make a better life for themselves on this soil. And they worked hard so their children could live a better life, so their children could live a better life, so their children could live a better life. And here I am without children, but here I am standing so the people who come after me, my future children or wherever they come from, can have a better life. Because they fucking deserve that. Just because somebody else fucked up does not mean you write off generations of hope and generations of humanity and generations of stories. There are so many stories waiting to be told, and we don't know those chapters. We don't know those chapters. We don't know those stories yet. But God damn it, those stories are worth a shot. And I don't know about you, but it seems to me that every single time, and maybe I'm not a historian, maybe I'm not a perfect student of history, but I can tell you, it seems like every single time, when you look and you say, they should have lost, they should have packed it in, this should not have happened. We fight back. We rise like the goddamn phoenix, and we come back, and we fight back, and God damn it, we rise and we build something better. And then we slip and we fall into the valley, but we tiptoe, we crawl claw our way up this mountain, up the sheer face of a mountain to make it better. And I am here telling you that in those stories, in those people that come and they share with every rude customer I have, there's at least 10 other customers behind them who are putting money in the tip jar so somebody else can buy a book that's a little bit short on change. For every school donation drive for summer reading, we have to get an extra crate because people who don't even have kids are donating books because even if they can't read themselves, by God, the next generation is going to. And there are always people like this guy, as she points to James wherever he is.
Yeah.
There's people like this guy who come in and say, I've got a whole, say, I just came from a fundraiser full of kids that need books for their summer reading. They are ASD youth. They are LGBTQIA youth. They're already working with a bias. Can you please help us out? And you bet your bottom dollar I went into the back room because there is actually a back room when I want to go into the back room. Shh, I didn't tell you that. Retail secret. I pulled every string I have of being a native Tennessean to get these books in these kids' hands because, damn it, if they want to read and they want to learn, by God, they're going to do it. So, yes, we have fucked up. People fucked up. But that doesn't mean you crumple the whole piece of paper and throw it in the trash can. And I am not going to stand here. I'm going to annoy the fuck out of you. And I am going to make my voice heard because if it's the end of the fucking world, then I'm going to use every argument I've got. And I want you to look around. You can't really look. I want you to see these people here. I'm sorry. I'm making too many assumptions. I'm really passionate and I'm not. The words are coming quicker than I can think about them, but that's not the point. These people here, we have all clawed our way out of something terrible. We have spent eons in torment. And if anybody had the want, the need to say, fuck it all and start over, it would be the people in this room who are driven past insanity and past depression and past everything else and came out on the other side. And we said, not another one. The only thing that kept me going when I had no family, when I had no husband, when I had no knowledge of anything, when I couldn't even stand still, hope was the only thing that kept me going. And God damn it, nobody is going to take that away from me. Now, I'm going to step aside now, but you have not heard the last of me if those fucking things don't start turning blue real goddamn quick.
I would like you to make a skill check of your choice that seems appropriate to that argument, whether it's manipulation and expression or presence and intimidation, honestly, if you feel like. But and also add 3 dice to it.
Let's see. Which skills am I looking at?
Whatever you think is appropriate. Recommendations probably manipulation and presence,
Okay.
manipulation expression, presence intimidation, honestly.
I have a pretty strong presence. It's not composure, I can tell you that right now. Yeah, we'll go with intimidation.
Presence and intimidation seems valid. And add
Hold
3
on,
to
just
it.
let me intimidate some ancient seal real quick. Here.
Listen,
No, it's badass. Keep going.
You can also spend a willpower if you want.
I am spending a goddamn willpower.
Gonna be a total of +6.
Okay. Plus 6 dice?
Yeah.
This better be fucking good.
Big money, big money, big
One
money.
success.
5 successes.
That's not bad.
With a critical success, that third brazier immediately just all the way blue. And the second one begins to trickle until it reaches about half. The fourth one begins to trickle until it reaches about halfway. Then
Cassandra just hugs Joe.
then Mimir responds.
I'm gonna punch you, motherfucker.
Wow. If grand catastrophe is not enough to break your spirit, and you speak of the future and of potential, let me tell you of the smaller cruelties that grip the hearts of this world, even its most vaunted protectors, the warriors of Gaia.
Did he not hear the whole retail thing, or did he just like?
I could tell you of the war of rage and the tragedies that the werewolves inflicted upon others of their kind, of how truly the fate of this world was set long before any of us were ever born. But perhaps it's a tale for another time. Instead, I'll tell you of the evil they commit upon themselves and their own. You might not know this, but it is forbidden for a guru to bear a child with another of their own kind. The reasons why are largely spiritual and complex, but the most obvious one is the nature of those offspring, known among their kin as metis. These ill-born werewolves are monstrosities born in the war form, dangerous even to be birthed, and before that, prone to mutation and invariably infertile, incapable of continuing the lineage of Gaia's greatest warriors. And you can hear the sarcasm in that statement. The stigma on these poor beings is great, but even greater than their personal tragedy is what happened to their one pure son. In the same year as the great tragedy of Zapathasara, there was born a miracle child, the offspring of 2 of these supposedly infertile metis. And more miraculous than simply his birth, this perfect metis was born with none of the mutations and impurities that marked his parents or those like them. Truly miraculous. And do you know what the werewolves saw in him? A sign of the apocalypse. They were uncertain and wary of this creature, who grew to adulthood faster than most might fathom, and hemmed and hawed as to whether he was a savior of the guru or a fair-faced bringer of damnation. I will spare you the tragic story of his life, but suffice it to say that it does not last long. And at the height of his grace, when he had most overcome his darkness and his demons and was ready to save his kin, he was struck down by a psychopathic werewolf in a dominatrix outfit who can't tell the difference between him and the man she was really after. Are we really worth saving when the greatest of our warriors, those who are supposed to protect us from darkness, are so suspicious and mad that a miracle child who ought to be their savior is seen with suspicion and murdered by a madwoman whose name sounds like gnashing teeth? That last brazier turns entirely back to red, and the third one that had been fought so hard for turns back to red, resetting the balance.
So you're telling me, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You probably will. I mean, I'm finding it hard that you have a leg to stand on. But so you're telling me that humanity is fucked because one bitch couldn't tell one werewolf from another, and so now because this miracle werewolf was killed, then we're fucked.
It's a common story, isn't it? Someone who might have been and might have had the capacity to be a savior for all of us killed before they have the chance to do
Listen,
worthwhile.
That shit happens every day. People are killed every day, and who are we to know, miracle child or not, they were somebody's child.
You really think that's an argument in favor?
Will you let me finish, you fuck? What I am saying is that yes, that happens. Murder is awful. Mistaken identity is awful. And if you're really going to go the wronged woman route that was off woman but of another, can I introduce you to a little thing called Maury Povich in True Crime TV? Because, listen, that ain't new. Mistaken identity is nothing new. Again, look at Shakespeare, full of it. But what I am saying is even with the worst of us, and believe me, it's not just the supernatural creatures. There are monsters of humans. But there are people that saw this wrongdoing. There are people that saw this and said, fuck this shit. Maybe not in those words. Fuck this shit. We're not going to do this anymore. We're standing up. The entire system of the Underground Railroad. They lived every day with the danger of getting caught. What they were doing was against the law. But their belief in freedom and their hope for a better life was better than what they were coming from. It was worth the danger. Living, the potential to live is worth the danger. Listen, I could walk out this cave and fall down that mountain, and the fate of the world wouldn't have any effect for me. Anything can happen, and that's both a blessing and a curse. I am choosing to believe in the blessing. Because, like the story of Pandora's box, yes, supposedly one woman's curiosity doomed us all. But out of that box full of plague and murder and disease and other terrible things, you know what else it gave humanity? Hope. So yes, there's some terrible shit. And you could ask any retail worker on Black Friday about why humanity should be wiped out. That is called humor as a coping mechanism. And it unites us all.
Go ahead and give me presence and expression on that specifically. Let's see if you can countermand some of the damage she just did. with the story of the perfect menace.
This guy is pissing me off. Can I spend a willpower on that?
Absolutely.
The thought comes to mind is to argue against Mimir by pointing out that both of his examples are from 1999. Like, can you give us some more recent examples than
Shut up.
25 years ago? No, like, if humanity was destined to be destroyed
Okay.
by the events he said,
Right,
Oh.
but we don't get to mentally coordinate and tag team this. I don't think.
yeah, no.
Three modifiers.
No modifiers there except for with your spending of willpower plus 3 dice. Yes.
That's 3. Okay.
2. That second brazier, that third brazier, gleans a bit further towards the cerulean again, despite the shove back towards the center.
We can't dictate the entirety of humanity off of a few small instances of what's going on. I understand these are catastrophic events that you're talking about. But again, every catastrophe makes humanity stronger. And I get that you're talking about the supernatural side of things, the things that go bump in the night, the things that are supposed to be the monsters, the things that are supposed to be scary to us. But I am one of the things we're supposed to be scared of. And I can't speak for everybody in here, but I have seen hell. I have seen the depths of what real, true darkness and devastation can be. I had my entire being ripped apart and put back together in a different structure. I have seen the worst. I've lived through it. And the fact that me or any other of my kin decide to wake up and continue moving through the day should be enough to show you that it deserves to continue. We changelings have been destroyed, but still survive. There are some of us who will never be the same. Some of us who will never know what happened to their families or the people they loved. Some of us who will never be able to go home. Some of us who don't recognize home. And some of us who have been replaced. Changelings and humanity both suffer that same darkness until light is shown. Every morning we have to wake up and choose to live. Now, we don't have to choose to get out of bed. But if we choose to live and survive through the day, it's one more victory. And if you take all of those victories compounded over the millennia we've been alive, every negative that you can throw at us, every death, every murder, every bombing, every suicide, every plague, everything, you persist. We keep waking up. And I don't think any of these 20-plus-year-old stories that was supposed to be that creature that woke up, Zapathasaurus, should have destroyed all of humanity, right? If it's as strong as what's been sealed away there, if humanity worked and destroyed it the first time, it means we deserved to do it. It doesn't matter that we had help. And I bet you're probably about to tell us another doomsday story from one of the other creatures.
Mm. There's a slow, knowing grin that begins to spread across Mimir's face. Please finish your point before I continue.
You know what's the same about apocalypse predictors? Every single one of them. They're all wrong.
Joe chimes in. I've lived through like 5 ends of the world already. Just
I know this is a lot more present and obviously destructive than the Mayan calendar dictating the end of days, but I've lived through a few of them myself.
Go ahead and roll me. What do you think is appropriate there?
I'm still going to go manipulation and expression.
Sounds good to me.
And I'm pumping another willpower into this because if I don't,
I mean, when else are you going to use
oh
it?
my goodness.
That third brazier ekes back to the halfway point. Mimir opens his mouth as if he was going to say something, and then Tiresias cuts him off. If I may, there is still the back and forth of this ritual to be obeyed. As Tiresias opens currently her mouth. I should, to put a finer point on what these companions have been saying, note that even amongst the stories of all of these supernatural beings destroying themselves, destroying us, destroying the world, there are elements among all of the lines of supernatural beings that exist in this world who are learning to adapt and empower the modern era. The glass walkers of the Guru, the virtual adepts of the awakened, all those who demonstrate that the possibility is that the future is not inherently changed by the preceding era. The devastating impacts of the arrival of Zapathasura, the death of the pure Metis, have been survived. And if we have survived previous eras, we may yet survive this one as well. The second half of that third brazier shifts over to blue. Very well. You insist upon the potential and resolve of humanity. Let me put to you the question: does humanity deserve to continue expanding and surviving itself upon that resolve when in fact the darkest and most dangerous deeds of this world? Oh yeah. Let me, you're probably gonna have to countermand this, so cover that in a second, Jeremy. The darkest and most dangerous deeds of this world were committed not by vampires, not by werewolves, not by any of the supernatural and empowered of this world, but by men, by humanity. Both of the world wars, the genocide that prefaced it, the bombings and creations of nuclear warheads, the devastation of entire cultures, the deforestation and elimination of this world's natural environments, the potential end caused by climate change, of all things. All of this was not done by a werewolf, was not done by a vampire with a thirst for power, was done by a man. The blue creeps red again.
Oh.
Not just making it even, but driving closer towards the third brazier. When a new person walks into the room.
I'm sorry, motherfucker. What do you think that you have any right to judge anybody?
I knew you couldn't stay away.
Shut up. I had a question.
Questions allowed, or does that break the back and forth nature of this?
Go ahead.
I just asked it. Shall I say it slowly if you did not understand the words? What makes you think you have the right to judge us or anyone?
It's not I that judge. It's the one that's asleep over there.
That's who I'm talking to.
Fair enough. Make your point.
Gotta hydrate.
I'm just saying. I've seen a lot of, let's say, I've seen a lot of bullshit in my time. I've seen a lot of people who think that they can make decisions for other people, acting like they know better. They've got people's best interests at heart. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the person that we're talking about making the decision whether the humanity and all the sundry things that flit aside at the shadows is worthy of living on. Is what is the most diplomatic way to put this? One of the foremost purveyors of murder, atrocity, and everything else by virtue of living is something that requires things to die for I don't even know how long, and creating however many other such things. I think this whole thing is bullshit because I don't think that you have any right to say one way or the other. And if we are talking about who most deserves to get wiped off the planet between mankind and a millennia-old vampire, the sun's right outside.
What role would you like to make with that?
I need to look at my character sheet real quick. Because I know that there is willpower to I don't actually remember my seeming blessings. I am going to say presence intimidation.
All right, go for it.
Specialty reading.
Oh yes, you absolutely get that specialty. I will also give you 2 more, so a total of +3 there.
With a willpower for +6.
Yes, indeed. Perfectly timed. Fuck!
No.
Jeremy actually rolled well for once. At the moment, it's most needed.
When it counts. So that would be 8 successes.
All of the progress that Mimir had just been clawing back and even pushing further into having the advantage is immediately wiped away as I don't know if the thing in the coffin felt shame at the read, or just believed, or like has enough ego death to understand that you're correct in that matter, or something in the line. But the braziers shift, and the last one is about halfway blue by the time that everything is done changing.
Frisian will step in. I want to rebuke Mimir. World War II, there was 36 million on the Axis side. There was 380 plus million fighting against that darkness. There was a multitude more people fighting for what was right than what was wrong.
You're arguing with absolute facts. If you would like, you can make a roll that involves your. Let's see.
Could I argue wits and politics?
Absolutely. That's just recollection of true facts.
Wits, politics.
Here for this.
Frisian citing his sources.
Can I spend a willpower?
Source, I was fucking there. Yes, you can spend a willpower on
That's a source.
That is a source. I am a primary source.
Yeah, I am a primary source in that matter.
I
That was on ground zero, motherfucker.
With 4 successes, the last bit of the brazier, the final brazier, twists and curls up, and the last of the 4 braziers illuminates blue.
You can go now.
The hermetic seal that had been hovering in place, a sort of crimson blood-marked seal, illuminates the sort of bright white, and the flames of the 4 braziers feed into it as if channeling into the seal. The seal itself seems to glow brighter and then shifts into a cerulean hue, and then like a trap door laying on a pivot, just sort of pivots down and slams into the roof of the coffin. And there is a burst wave of air dispersal that just pushes all dust in the area aside, ruffles hair, sends things like scattering out. And the coffin sort of slides down onto the ground. And the shadows that had been suffusing the ground dissipate. And you are now just looking at a solid slab of black. No evil presence protruding from it. No raw shadow emanating off of it. It just seems like a giant black slab.
Question. Are Tiresias and Mimir still here?
Yep.
Are we done now?
Joe is going to go over and shut the little flap on Mimir's box. And
he's already out of the box. He's no longer in the box.
Where's the box?
It's over on the other side of the room.
She's going to go over, get the box. Like, here you go. Drops him not so gently in the box. Closes it.
As you're doing that, in response to the question, Mimir sort of looks over. That we are. And as much as I might have been obligate to argue for the opposite direction, I can't say I'm disappointed with the outcome. We'll see what the next few centuries pass by like before 2 more are called to argue.
Yeah, I remember saying something very similar when I was up from this Continental, and I got third runner up. I was very gracious while I was boiling on the inside, so you can go now.
Very well. Maybe we'll meet again in the future, he said, as the case is put down.
And Joe is gonna like look around, see if anybody's looking, and no matter if anybody's looking or not, she's just gonna kick the box. Not hard.
Well, I'd like to say to the both of you, If our paths ever cross again, it'll be too soon. I apologize. Please get out of Knoxville.
Y'all,
Believe me, I would
y'all-
very much like to, says
y'all take
Tiresias.
care now.
And don't come back, you hear?
That.
We have to take
As-
Tiresias with us. We have their coffin.
Oh shit.
That is true.
As the pair of you, as the group of you sort of like gather up your stuff and get ready to move, Alexander and Archer step back in. Well, considering that we're all still here, I imagine things went well.
You're welcome.
Very good, all of you. Now that the seal is reinforced properly, Archer and I will see to the relocation of the coffin to somewhere else. Cannot allow this thing to stay in one place for too long.
Yes, can I make a suggestion?
Please.
Not Tennessee.
Bad enough. We will get out of your hair with it.
Thank you.
You know, you want to know the worst part about saving the world? We don't really get to tell anybody about it.
Oh, fuck that. I'm going to tell everybody.
Just leave, the existence of this thing and the location that it might be moving to away so that no one else comes looking for it, please.
What thing?
Good.
What are you talking about?
Very much. Thank you. As Alexander and Archer sort of walk to either side of the coffin, put hands together, and just start muttering an incantation, and the coffin lifts off of the ground. And they start to walk out. Actually, specifically, they walk into a cave tunnel that sort of opens up, and then they walk through it, and it closes behind them.
All right.
the
Who wants
fuck
to get
outta
home and
here.
have a drink?
Joe is just honestly going to find the nearest person and just collapse in a hug and just start laughing and crying at the same time.
About at that time that more voices and sounds come from outside as Andrew, Cho, and Lily come running up. As Andrew shows up, I made it and I brought a friend. Did we save the world? What? Everything looks...
Yeah, we did.
You're late.
Sorry, I can only move so fast without getting smacked by reality.
But yes,
Excuses. Let's go.
the world.
Look, I
is
didn't
saved.
fight in the Jovian Wars. I'm not out on one of those planets out there doing weird bullshit.
Those are certainly words that you have said that I do not care to understand the meaning of.
The
Let's
only thing
go.
I need to understand right now is amaretto sour. Let's go.
But yes, we saved the world. Now let's go get a drink.
So, with the immediate threat removed, let's go around the table. What happens of major significance for each of you as a player character over the next 6 months? As the ideal point of where a next chronicle might pick up would probably be somewhere around spring.
Might I suggest that, because I certainly hadn't thought of this, we're right about the time we would normally take a break anyways.
Yeah, so we can take a break and we'll come back with ideas for epilogues and what might happen over the next few months. Remember, when we take our break, you take your break. So sit up, stretch your legs, do whatever you need to do, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Please enjoy these commercial messages.
We back.
Welcome back. So, with the world having been saved, there's about 6 months of downtime for people to get their lives in order and try and find some measure of calm and peace before the cliffhanger for potential next chronicle starts to loom its head. So going around the table, would anyone like to go first to describe what those next 6 months looks like for your character? No one speaks up. I'll just start calling on people.
I'm not
Somebody
having
else go
flashbacks
first.
to
I
high
have a
school
news
at
article
all.
to write.
I'll go first. So over the next 6 months, Cassandra finishes writing that book, gets it published, and gives it to
Gives an advance copy to
Mhm.
Ledger.
Yep.
Or Parchment, rather.
Parchment.
Parchment. Yep. And starts writing the sequel before she gets anything back from Parchment. She's already started the sequel. She's got her kids moved in, migrated, and into their new schools. Occasionally helps Tyr when she can on some of the lighter risk missions. She's also been spending a lot of her time trying to build up the community, working on trying to get those halfway homes for Supernatural started, breaking ground potentially. Starting. Her thoughts were to start an LLC with the three of our family's financials to back it, to have something so that when people show up, we have financial records, but we could really use all the resources we have to help the disenfranchised supernaturals of our area. And that's what she's been spending a lot of her time doing, that and just catching up with her kids. Now that the world's not ending and she doesn't have to run off and miss them, putting them to bed every night. She really dives into her home life. Reconnects with her father. Still has not reconnected with her mother. And tries to weekly visit Lily and the wolves go chopping. And she's made the effort to make sure that her kids know both of their aunts. And Kane, if he ever decides to come around in those 6 months, because she's not reaching out to him directly, but she's not told anybody, don't tell anyone I'm home. So
Kane is kind of a drop by when someone else is dropping by kind of person. So one of the times that your sister is showing up, maybe Kane follows, or maybe even one of the rare times that your father visits and like comes over to meet the kids, have conversations and talk with everyone. Your father has definitely felt the 4 years that you've been gone a little grayer than you might have expected him to be in 4 years passing by. But the turnaround from his realization definitely seems to have lightened him in a lot of ways. And he genuinely seems a lot happier than he has been in your previous experience and memory of him. And yeah, Bologna manages to keep working and stay relatively unscathed. They get a new scar every now and then, but the medicine that the hunters are able to provide, and with your assistance, he's largely able to keep herself from getting critically injured most of the time. So she is surprisingly durable, though again, she is sort of Tennessee's #1 like combat hunter as far as the region goes. So not super surprising there. Um, the the kids are, 6 months is not enough to see dramatic development for kids. You are not in danger of finding out if either of them are going to undergo first change anytime soon. But they're, getting used to school, getting used to have both their parents around more regularly, getting to know you as an individual. And when people thought that you were dead, your sales went through the roof because, the post death artist bump. And then when it finds out that you're still alive, you get the rare occasion of that happening again. Because suddenly, surprisingly, not being dead is just as much of a unique, weird coincidence as being dead now.
I'm going to start next season with 5 dots in resources because I'm not allowed to have 6.
Yeah, that's all in all going relatively well. The halfway houses are getting put together. You've made conversations with some of the other supernaturals to try and get at least some token support for trying to assist.
And she and I assume everybody else in the Motley will agree with this sentiment. He understands it's hard to trust, especially something like this. It's huge. So she gets it, and she every meeting that she has with them, it's, whenever you're ready and whenever you're comfortable, then we'll be there. And if that time never comes, the hand's still there.
Ironically, the first person to be most on board with it from among a different supernatural group is Reikasiv, which you might not have expected, but she seems to be forward on the idea. Which definitely helps a lot when you got the person supposedly in charge of the vampires in the area giving orders about, don't fuck with this particular area.
Yeah.
Or I will rip you in half, as is her usual threat.
We're trying to help out. Go fuck up a different neighborhood.
Who would like to go next?
I'll go
I'm going to
next.
speak up. I will start picking someone. Okay, Trevian.
I was going to say, I can't go twice, guys.
Sure you can. Another 6 months. Let's go. Frisian tries to make an effort to help Jackson with the Oathbreaker thing. Because, Jackson's basically my family and should get this problem resolved. But also, works at the haunted house and tries to do that regularly. So it's a regular schedule. He continues exercising and getting stronger. And while out on runs, looks for a place to set up a bastion in Knoxville for the summer court. And spends time with Andrew and learning about his family.
So, eventually, you find, as far as a bastion goes, there is an old military fort that's sort of out of the way. As there are numerous of these scattered throughout the South and in general throughout the United States, a bunch of old forts that are either in misuse or just having been abandoned or consigned as a historical site. We find an old fort that seems like it's largely out of the way, but out of the way for humans does not mean out of the way for changelings. As you sort of investigate the area around the hedge in that regard, you also find that it is near a trod that is relatively easily walkable. And report its site to Morrigan, to the Morrigan. And she is relatively quickly able to get Summer's efforts put towards fortifying and reconstructing and getting that fort operational for the Summer Court. And so come the end of the 6 months, the Summer Court will have a bastion for concentrating their efforts that is not just the Commons. And by the time it's done, most of Summer Court's regular operatives who sort of prefer any sense of organization can be found there most days. Especially because it gives them an opportunity to have a place to sleep and stay that isn't like immediately going to cause any problems or cost them much, because they Summer Court operates it. Summer Court, if you're in the court, you stay there as you like. You do eventually manage to hit the requirements for the military entrance exam. You manage to get that down as needed. Speaking with Andrew, you learn a little bit about the family history of what had gone on since your disappearance, the generations that had sort of passed in time between your disappearance and your re-arrival. With the concerted, I'm assuming the entire Motley's concerted efforts, Jackson can be cleared of the Oathbreaker status and potentially reinserted into the Motley, assuming they want to be. With all of that in mind, I know Jeremy's writing an article which basically leaves Katie.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to get that.
It's okay. So the first thing Jo does is, in keeping her promise to which court? I can't remember which court it was now. Winter Court? About the birdhouse?
Oh, yes, that was to I can't remember her name.
Crobeak? What was it?
Crobeak. Yeah,
Crobeak.
Crobeak in winter.
And I can't remember the fancy word for it. I just remember
The Airy.
Thank you. That one.
Rosebeak, yes.
So she finds a nice place with their input, gets it built for them. She, I'm assuming along with Cassandra, is going to continue. She's going to use the building that her in-laws Fetches occupied. She's going to convert that building into kind of a center of operations and also dormitories for changelings or for other creatures that need a safe haven. So that will be one of the projects she works on, in addition to taking over the charities that the ASD and LGBTQIA plus charities that the Arbor family was already involved in. So she basically kind of redoubles those efforts and gets it onto the community, make sure there's a large community presence, a large social media presence. She does a lot of not FaceTime like Apple FaceTime, but a lot of FaceTime for it. She reconnects with her family and her family's bookstore. She goes back there for the first time in a really long time. And she makes it so her family can keep that land and keep that bookstore for the foreseeable future. She basically sets up a fund so that no matter in if times are lean or if times are prosperous, that they have something to fall back on. In the midst of all that, so in the midst of being the working with the Changeling Halfway House charity and the LGBTQIA and ASD, excuse me, charities, she also in taking care of the bookstore, she also develops her house, builds her house. She builds her secret writing room, the library with the moving bookshelf. And she is 6 months along. She is she has done one full manuscript of her first book about kind of stealing from life, not that anybody would ever know it, a series about a wind goddess and a dragon. Everyday stuff. Right, what you know. So she's currently finishing that up. She's querying for editors, and so hopefully with another year or two she'll be able to publish that. In her other free time, she is looking to foster and adopt children. So when she's readying her home, she's readying some of the rooms of her home to be able to welcome children, because with all the charitable work that she does, not that she wouldn't like to have biological kids, but she just feels a real calling to provide she's providing a safe haven for changelings, but she also wants to do that for children. So she's going through the adoption and I just said the word and I literally lost it. Foster. Thank you. Fostering and adoption process.
And from what I know from other people in my life who have looked into that, that takes a long time. So you're probably still doing that.
It does,
by the time that the 6 months rolls around.
Right. It's a lot, but you gotta get the ball started rolling somewhere. So
Yep.
But the new house is looking spectacular. You spared no expense in making it look exactly the way that you want it. Perhaps more than anyone else, leaning into the fact that you are now fucking rich, and throwing money at every problem that you possibly can.
It's called donate.
Oh yeah. You managed to set up a proper maintenance fund to take care of the bookstore and make sure that it will always be all right and stable no matter what. And the working with Cassandra on the sort of halfway house project, you provide a lot of the contacts with the city that'll be very necessary for trying to make sure that these buildings are properly zoned and their purpose is similar enough to what you're actually doing that no one questions why there are a bunch of people here. So they do get labeled as like halfway houses, hostels, places for people to stay and be able to get back on their feet, even though the people in the city maybe don't know who exactly is staying there.
Details.
But getting all that charitable work done, the Arbor family name is surprisingly well carried through all environments. As the pair of you work very hard to make sure that this goes through. James is very happy to help out wherever he can and wherever he needs to, providing reassurances, physical efforts, whatever is necessary for projects to move forward. The manuscript's coming along very well. There is a up and coming editor who is looking to try and make this one of their first major editing jobs. They seem relatively young at the project, but Parchment recommends them very well. So they seem like they know what they're doing. And everything is shaping up to be operating fairly efficiently by the time the 6 months rolls around, which leaves us with Marlena.
Yep. I think Marlena's time is primarily split between two things. First, and what probably obvious for obvious reasons, requires the lion's share of their time is really getting going on reestablishing the drag scene in Nashville or Knoxville. So a lot of that. And obviously, this is also aside from time that we're spending. The group gets together. The remainder of their time, I think, is spent insinuating themselves as much as possible into Spring Court. Because we have not had we've had, these are the people that we go to. We legitimately have stronger ties to werewolves and mages and vampires than we do changelings right now. Outside of our own. So that needs to be fixed pretty seriously. So yeah, spending a lot of time just insinuate in social scene and just getting to know them, and becoming part of that scene.
Very nice. And do you take up the Motley's assistance in a?
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Do you rejoin the Motley?
Yep.
All right.
For sure.
Once again,
look, the problem is gone.
As far as anyone knows, no one has seen hide nor hair of Frank and Lisa in the 6 months that have passed.
And as the problem comes back, we will cross that bridge when we come to it.
Up to Marlena, she's gonna burn that bridge when we come to it.
But the drag scene of Knoxville is beginning to flourish at the end of the 6 months. New drag daughters and performers are cropping up. Some old ones are returning. With the scene being largely more friendly and with the political environment largely sort of shaping up and looking a little bit more friendly, drag is given more of an opportunity to flourish.
Mm-hmm.
With a lot of that turned around, that gives you a lot of opportunities as well to spend some time interacting with the changelings and sort of getting yourself in the know with Spring Court. You sort of make yourself known around Spring Court whenever you can.
Yep.
Get into conversations with Briar Rose. Meet up with anyone and everyone in Spring Court. Sort of ingratiate yourself as someone to know and someone to be a friend of.
That's the plan.
And which helps a lot when people start coming to ask questions about whatever the fuck this project is that the rest of your motley are undergoing about building safe havens.
Yep. Oh, let me tell you. And yeah.
And you put a lot of that work in over the next 6 months, and things are looking up. And as things are looking up, the camera, as spring dawns upon Knoxville in the next year, the camera focuses on a patch of trees in a local park where to those who might not know anything further, it's just sort of a knotwork of trees and lattices of wood that make a uniquely archway-like connection that to most people is just part of how this wood looks. Unbeknownst to any of them, that if opened as a doorway to the hedge, leads to a very particular copse of trees that have an open clearing where certain individuals might have had a showdown and one might have fled and left the other one in the hedge. But from around that section of trees, the wind begins to pick up, as if swirling around one location for no particular reason. And then, as if alive, the trees sort of sway and drift. And to one who is paying very close attention and can see the world for how it truly is, they might potentially see some of the thin wire-like roots underneath this tree begin to twist and bramble and gather and form the faint outline of a gnarled hand reaching and grasping for the ground of the outside. And that's where we're going to end for the week and the Chronicle. When next we come back, it will be in a completely different World of Darkness game. If you would like to give everyone a preview, Julia.
Yes, the next game is going to be titled Changing Breeds, Screams of the Sun, a multi-fera changing breed game that is set in the sunny town of Sacramento, California, where our group will be setting the precedent for the first American beast courts and dealing with all of not only the political fallout that happens there and the turmoil within, but also a few different environmental agencies that have moved in or companies that are planning on doing some not so good things to the environment around. There will be aspects of espionage, guerrilla warfare, and from what I have seen of the characters that we have on the docket, it's going to be a very, very fun ride.
Gonna say fuckery.
Yes. Yes. Let's
You
see.
thought this group was a bunch of fuck ups.
Oh, yeah. No. Next game, we will not be having Austin at the start. We will be having a new player, Siobhan, joining us. So once they join, we hope that you enjoy their presence in the Monday games as well. And I'm looking forward to being back in the GM seat on Monday nights again. So I can't wait to get started on Changing Breeds.
Yep.
I'm excited.
With that, say goodbye, everybody. Bye.
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 Goodbye.